So today, Wednesday, July 26th, Chris, you ready for this? There was a congressional hearing where former U.S. intelligence official David Grush testified before Congress under oath, claiming that aliens are real and that U.S. government has recovered crashed UFOs as well as the dead or injured pilots. So essentially saying that the U.S. government is in possession of UFOs that have crashed and possibly alien bodies.
Yeah.
And what do you think of that?
Yeah, I mean it's weird because they've been kind of rolling it out for a while now. I mean, you lived together in like 2019, like right around the COVID times, they really started to kind of talk about that. They started saying about, they had crafts not of this planet. They also like weird things were appearing in the desert. Like remember that giant like cylinder that was found inside of the desert. These things have been identified for over like 10 years. For over 10 years the Navy has been saying that they've been coming into contact with them. But all of a sudden they're like all the time in the sky and all of these different things. But then you also have guys like Elon Musk who studies the stars more than anybody. And, he says that he doesn't believe in aliens and that he doesn't believe that they're on this earth, And it's like, is that because he has government contracts and, he can't send stuff to space if he's outing what's really going on? Or is it because he's really against it? I personally feel that he really is against it and he doesn't feel that it's true, and I've also heard Donald Trump say that the UFO thing is very interesting. That's what he said. He was like, it's very interesting. And but then in another podcast with Nelk Boys recently, he said, I don't really believe in the alien stuff. So it's very weird. And then Obama even said at one point that there are UFOs and that he can't get into all of the details. He took it very seriously. It was a very serious conversation.
Do you think that they're real? Well, I guess that's a hard question because there's a difference between you thinking that there is life on other planets. Like obviously the probability of that is very high.
Mm-hmm.
But if we're talking about did they come to Earth, then that's like a whole separate conversation. I
Yeah.
would I would ask the first one is I think that we would both probably agree that there is very likely life on other planets,
Right.
far, far away. But the more important question that is basically the topic of this whole thing is: do you believe David Grush's testimony? Do you know anything about him personally? Because he also went on a couple. He did 2 hour long. I think it was the BBC or one of those like 60 Minutes or something like that
Mm-hmm.
interviews where because he's a whistleblower essentially. So he's a whistleblower from an intelligence agency. I don't even know which one, but he went under the official whistleblower steps, and he's a protected whistleblower, kind of like outing this information.
Yeah.
So do you know anything about him?
Just 2 weeks ago, we had the UFO that crashed in Las Vegas, the UFO, and these cameras caught it. The police caught it on their body cameras. They showed up to it. It's just like the news is just becoming more and more prevalent. And it's interesting because just 10 years ago, we would be making fun of someone for talking about UFOs and being like, oh, I saw a UFO. And now it's becoming very mainstream. Now we have the Pentagon literally saying that what we know for sure that the Pentagon themselves were supposed to release those classified documents right around that COVID time, and then remember they kept on announcing it, and it was this huge date that they were going to come out and release these classified documents in regards to UFOs,
I
and then
think they did, right?
yeah, I mean
But it
eventually,
wasn't it wasn't really like anything.
yeah, it was basically
um
like, yeah, we have UFOs. They are unidentified flying objects. And it was like, and we waited like two
right.
and a half months for that announcement, but either way,
Yeah.
it's just becoming such a prevalent topic. And, you have some people right now that believe that it's going to be used for one world order and basically getting the world to come and fight against one thing, or like Elon Musk said, we can get people to pay a alien tax. Guys, we need to protect you from the aliens. It's going to cost more money. We're going to need to raise the taxes on some things and whatever. Like, is there a objective of the government right now, or of the world, or is this just really true and something's going on? What do you think it is?
Well, just from reading into like, I watched the interviews. I watched like all three interviews he did. He did he was on basically a press run of just talking to many different sources. And first off, the guy, David Grush, he seems like a respectable guy. When he speaks, it's very carefully, it's very concise and respect. He seems like a respectable guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have a guy who's coming out and making these claims, but first it's important to like look at what he's actually saying. So he never saw any of this himself. He's actually relaying somebody else's story of what they told him. So now we're going from an anecdote of an anecdote. So it's already too separated to really win me over in that sense. But the guy seems, like I said, the guy seems like a respectable guy. So I don't think he's straight up just like lying to get famous. I think that in government, in every level of job, whatever, military, there's always going to be people that, really believe certain things. So I think that the guy really does believe what this person told him.
Right.
But I just don't believe that aliens have came to Earth. Every time any UFO claim comes to light in the press or whatever, right? A thought process that I go down is I usually start with basic scientific facts, right? The universe is so big that nobody actually comprehends the concept of infinite space. The closest known galaxy to us is the Canis Major Dwarf Galaxy, which is 25,000 light years away. So 25,000 light years. So that's moving at the speed of light. So just with that fact alone, I start to think to myself, what species do we know of on Earth that lives 25,000 years? And, we don't know anything on our planet, but life on other planet could have completely different biomechanisms than us or whatever. So you could kind of jump a little bit, it's not the most probable, but you can there's ways around it, right? But I think that another thing that you would look at is what level of advanced technology would these beings need to have to figure out how to travel at light speed, which is, as of right now, from Einstein, it's theoretically impossible, or B, build a craft that is capable of crossing this distance, or invent a craft that can warp space-time. So we're talking about a species that's at least 100 times more advanced than what humans are right now. And those are just like the scientific facts. But then you get to, start applying some logical tests. And the first is that, this advanced species traveled at light speed and possibly even warped space-time itself, did the impossible, but crashed when it finally got to Earth. That their craft can bend space-time itself, but doesn't have the technology to avoid birds flying or something and crashing. Logically, that's just it sounds very unlikely.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so do you think that aliens have came to Earth? And why do you think yes or no?
I mean, I would love to be able to give like a clear answer to that, but I think the Earth has had some weird history that we can't explain. In recent times, we've started to realize that, like, even with the pyramids, those like 100-ton blocks were moved like hundreds of miles across Egypt, and it's like completely unexplained how they were able to get it even to that location, let alone the process of actually building it and those type of things, along with some of the gods that they used to worship and the ways that they used to look and the similarities that they have. Then you go and you add in, recent things like Bob Lazar, who, claimed to have worked at Area 51. And, he actually did get proven that he really did work there and all of those type of things. You are right about like, why does it crash now and here, like on Earth? It does seem a little bit odd, but we don't, we may, I don't know, maybe we don't understand everything. Maybe they struggle with low speeds or low levels of flight. I mean, yeah, yeah. I know. I will say.
Well, hold on.
Yeah.
Well, no, I get when you were saying that you're probably like, well, I don't know, but my question is that, well, I read, because I used to think the same thing too about like the pyramids and stuff, but I was actually reading some articles, and it was like another guy that was on this show with Neil deGrasse Tyson. Neil deGrasse Tyson has like a podcast called Star Talk, and the guy actually was like an engineer, and he said that that Egypt, the pyramids were built by slaves, and it took like 30 slaves to haul one of the blocks, and he ended up saying that from what he believes is that it was actually very, it's not hard to do right now. With 30 people, they would be able to, create some sort of, like, just by using physics, I guess, like, you put something at the right angle and lift it up. And that's basically what he was saying. So the pyramids, if that's your reason for believing in aliens, maybe, and this guy can like show you that it can be done by man.
Right. Now, I'm quoting a lot of Joe Rogan and a lot of like things that, are from
There's your problem right there.
Yeah, you know what I mean? But they definitely like say that those things were moved across hundreds of miles, because I have seen videos where a guy rebuilt how they did Stonehenge, where he essentially took a stone and balanced it and created some type where he was able to just spin it and be able to get it to move for a very long distance. And he was able to do it all himself without anything else. But, I don't know.
Oh, he did it by himself?
Yeah, he did it by himself. And he was able to get it up into the air using like levers and stuff like that.
God damn.
Yeah.
Well, I think I saw a similar video. That's what I'm telling you. Like, I saw a similar video, but with the guy displaying one of the Egyptian blocks. So that's what kind of made, because I used to believe the same thing. I used to think that, how the hell did they create the pyramids, And then the guy, I watched that video, and it was kind of like this thing where he knew more than me. And I was like, oh shit, he literally explained like something that I didn't know. And, now I see it.
Yeah.
I don't know, but
it's hard to say, I know, like you said about, they would have to be X amount of time more advanced than us, this, that, and the other. However, like we are now, like, in mankind, as sci-fi as it sounds, are getting to a place where we're about to put things like Neuralink into our brains, and who knows the level of knowledge that you can gain in a very rapid period of time. And then if you were to give 2,000 years of people having Neuralink and continuously creating it, and them not getting killed off from AI and things like that, I'm sure that thing could find a way to get us to very interesting places, to say the least, and the whole thing as well is that when things are from other planets, they have different environments, which means that the evolutionary speed in which we experience could have been very, very different from their experience. Same thing with like the age of the Earth in comparison to some of these planets. And then you get into crazy things like time and warping it. And, you know, as sci-fi as these things sound, it's really not that far out there. And, you know, these are,
Right,
yeah.
but right now we have like self-driving cars. We're on the brink of it.
Mhm.
So all I'm saying is that if they can calculate like how, rocket science is like very exact. Like,
Yeah.
we can land something on Mars. We landed, rockets on Mars. We landed a rover. So they had to calculate, how these things would land or whatever. So all I'm saying is that if we can do that right now,
Hmm.
an advanced society would be able to land safely on Earth. The only next explanation is maybe like the government would be hiding this information from us. And but like I said, it's like there's so many like layers on top of layers on top of layers,
All right.
like the huh.
Well, okay, I just want you to answer this. Why is this taking place though right now? Why do you think that this is happening? Why are they slowly starting to lay out these articles that are coming from real mainstream news, really coming from the government? And, you know, they've done such a good job of not talking about UFOs, not doing anything for the last 30 years. And now, why all of a sudden are we starting to really get this out there? Why is there more alien sightings all of a sudden? What is really taking place in this situation? And why is there such a forced hand to be speaking about it?
I think so. This is just me from like just my theory. I think that the answer is pretty simple. I think the answer is that, like I said, you have people in the military. You have people in the military from the left, from the right, from the far left, from the far right, and these are all under. You have people in the FBI that are far left, far right, center left. You have people in these government, um, military, or intelligence agencies from all spectrums. And when you have such a variety of people, you're going to come across people. There's somebody in the FBI right now that believes fully in Bigfoot.
Yeah.
I have friends in the military that they have they know people that served with them that fully believe in like witchcraft, or like like things that we would consider like you know kooky stuff. So what I think is happening is a little bit of multiple things at the same time. You have the intelligence officer, David Grush, and I think that he truly believes this stuff. He truly believes in that aliens came to Earth,
Hmm.
right? He doesn't actually have any evidence. He never saw it himself. He just heard it, right? That's out of his own words.
Hmm.
He just heard it from someone else. But he came out as a whistleblower to tell the whole world that aliens are real. And it's like, well, I think that we're in a period where there's a lot of people are who will easily believe something, without necessarily having the right evidence. And it's the same thing with people in Congress. You have people in Congress. You got Marjorie Taylor Greene, who believes a lot of crazy stuff, like the
Yeah.
Jewish conspiracies and stuff like that. So
Hmm.
when you have these different elements, it's these people that are really at the forefront of this. They're the intelligence agent, David Grush did the whistleblower, and then you have people in Congress that are also a little kooky that believe in the alien stuff. So they're calling him to Congress to testify. So our government and stuff is ran by people just like you and me. And so when you have things like that, things like that are going to happen. I don't know if it's a slow rollout, but
But yeah, I mean, I do agree with what you're saying, but I also do think that it seems like the government is allowing it to be released at least. I mean, I understand that some of these people are just coming out and talking about it, but it just has become such a forefront to the media. The only other thing that I could say is that, you know, maybe these are government crafts that are top secret, and now they're starting to be seen a little bit more for whatever reason, so there's more question coming into it, so they're being forced to answer things, and they don't really want to release their information to like Russia and other countries that we have these crazy crafts that can do things that you wouldn't even be able to imagine. So maybe there's something like that, and then you have whistleblowers adding in a little bit of the mix of like, and we have alien bodies. You know what I mean? Like, because maybe,
Right.
I'm trying to say, because that makes a huge shift. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think that we're gonna find out a lot more soon. My vote is that either either that nothing comes from this, or in 2 years we are gonna full blown have some deep information about like
We're gonna be
alien life.
living. We're gonna have like aliens integrated into society. They're gonna be like, hey, by the way, this is the Shuhan race or the species from
Yeah. Right,
Andromeda.
sure.
I
Yeah.
don't know. I'm gonna lean. I'll make my prediction. You can make your prediction. I think it's a whole lot of nothing, like it always is for the past 30 years. I think it's just been continuously like, unless there's hard evidence. But like I said, these people go out on the limbs without hard evidence. Like I said, the guy himself is just relaying an information of something that he heard. So how can you believe something that is just like a word of mouth thing? Like you didn't see it yourself, but now you're coming out on every interview. So to me, that's just kind of like I have yet to see any actual, even Bob Lazar himself, it was just anecdotal. So it's like I think it's a whole lot of nothing. You think we're
Yeah.
gonna be living with aliens in 2 years?
I don't know. I mean, I will say I think the government spends like $1 trillion a year on weapons. Is that
Mhm.
around a
The
trillion, right?
U.S. government, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like 10 times more than any other country. I feel like for $1 trillion, we should have a UFO. I feel like if they're spending that much money, I feel like they should be able to have
Yeah.
something that can fly really fast, sink into water, come back out of water, and do a lot of the things that we're seeing. I will say that. And
That's 100 times more logical.
yeah, yeah, no, I definitely agree with it. And I mean, most of the scientists all line up with it. You know, Elon Musk, he believes that it is like conspiracies type stuff. He thinks that it's going to be like COVID all over again, where we have lockdowns and this, that, and it's some form of control.
Mhm. I just think that the majority of the scientific communities like uh basically coming out and saying that, hey, this guy's, he's not saying anything. He's not presenting any real evidence. What happened is a UFO by definition is unidentified.
Hmm.
So it could be it could be a spy balloon like from China. It could be any type of different things that are in our atmosphere or whatever. So